Welcome back, everybody, to the Epic Stories. We are now on our very final full episode of season 2, and we're going to try to finish off Diary of Wimpy Kid, the Meltdown, and in this time we're going to be reading. In this time we're going to be reading from we're going to try to read from page 121 to 180, and that's when we'll finish the book off there. Next time I'm going to read this book, it definitely won't be in this podcast. I'll just read it, but not going to record it. So here we go. This is the last video episode that we're doing of this book, and we are on the other topics. Starting from page 121. Let's see how much time we can get from page 121 to page 180. And yeah, I'll also take breaks in between. Here we go. Every 5 pages I'll be taking a break. The second it happened, the driver pulled over. She said she wasn't moving until the person who threw the snowballs turned themselves in. Hey, I'm not moving. Hey, people, stop throwing snowballs in my bus. Knock it off. I'm not moving. Hey, I'm not moving this bus until you stop and knock it off. Knock it off with that behavior. I will not peel up with that on my bus. See, this bus driver is not happy. You can't. That's why these kids could have caused an accident, a bus accident. You want us to get in the bus accident? No, then knock it off. This bus driver is unhappy. I'm just glad I never did that in high school. I'm just glad I never did that riding the bus to school and riding the bus home. Alright, let's continue. Like I said before, there's a no snitching rule in middle school. So no one from the back of the bus makes a peep. I wish I knew who did it, because I would have given them up to a heartbeat. I was pretty sure the bus driver was just buffering about not moving, and that we'd be on our way within a few minutes. But then she broke out a book and started on page 1. So we just sat there and waited for an hour while she read. The worst part about the whole thing was that the bus driver turned off the engine, so there was no... The worst part about the whole thing was that the bus driver turned off the engine. So there was no heat. Now the students are going to be sitting there in the cold. That's not good for them. Why would the bus driver turn it off, the engine? Especially during the winter. It's cold out there. Maybe in the spring and fall, but don't do it on the... But maybe in the spring and fall, but not on the seasons that is cold, that's very cold or very hot. That's not good. There were some conversations going on in the back of the bus, and I think a few kids were trying to get the one who threw the snowball to give himself up. Oh, I'm so sorry, people. I was getting ready to read my book. I tried to, but Alright, let's continue. But I really wish I hadn't turned around to look, because when I did, some eighth graders realized I wasn't from Worley Street. That was all it took. These guys needed someone to take to the to take the blame of the snowball, and since I was an outsider, it was a no-brainer for them. The bus driver said I needed to get off. The the bus driver said I needed to get off the bus immediately. That was fine with me, because now that's my cover. Because now that my cover was blown, I didn't want to stick around any longer, and I had to, longer than I had to. So I got off the bus, and Rowlett was 2 steps behind me. I was pretty sure we were about a mile from Surrey Street. The road was Surrey Street. The road we were on didn't have sidewalks, but there weren't any safety patrols this far out. So we walked on the street. 5 minutes later, we heard angry. 5 minutes later, we heard angry. 5 minutes later, we heard angry voices. It was a bunch of Worley Street kids, and they were coming straight for us. These kids aren't happy. I believe it was from when the bus driver had to stop because of the snowball throwers. First, these idiots lied about me throwing the snowball on the bus. Then they believed their lie, and now they were mad. Me and Riley had to make a choice. We could either deal with the mob or run. We decided to run, and the only place to go was into the woods. But believe me, that was the last thing I wanted to do. Everyone knew the woods along that road are where the goat man lives, which is why nobody ever goes in there. Roderick was the first one to tell me about the goat man, who he said was a half man, half goat. I wasn't sure if he meant the top half was a goat and the bottom part was a man, or if it was the other way around. But either way, Goat Man seemed pretty scary to me. Me and Riley have argued for years. Me and Riley have argued for years over which version is right. Riley thinks the goat man is a split down the middle. Alright, break time. Drink some water, take a sip. That's just me getting the water. Sip. Make sure the water goes in the right place. Alright, back to the book. I guess Riley could be right, but if you ask me, I think I think his version sounds kind of stupid. It's fun talking about this stuff when we're on a sleepover. When we're on a sleepover and safe in our sleeping bags. But now that we were in the woods where the goat man actually lives, it was a no laughing matter. The Raleigh Street kids must have known about the Raleigh Street kids must have known about the goat man too, because when we went in the woods, they didn't follow us. I figured we'd stay in there just long enough for the Raleigh Street kids to leave, because because we didn't want because we didn't want to be there any longer than we had to. But these guys must have known we were too we, we were too chicken to stay in there for long, and we could see the waiting for us. We could see them waiting for us on the road, at the edge of the woods. So our only choice was to go deeper. Was to go deeper in, and that's what we did. What was weird was how quiet it was in there. And after a while, I realized we couldn't hear the cars on the road, and that's when I knew, and that's when I knew we went in too deep. We followed our footsteps back to the road, but the sun was going down, and it was getting hard to find our tracks. We picked up the pace because we didn't want to get stuck in the woods in the dark. But when we came across a set of tracks, we froze. Uh-oh. Oh, look for those who are watching here. Oh, they froze. See that? At first we thought it was the goat man, but then we realized that there were two sets of footprints, and they were ours. That meant we'd spent the past 10 minutes walking in a giant circle. So we turned around and headed to the other direction. But then we ran into a creek. But then we ran into a creek, and I knew we were lost. Riley was in a panic, but I wasn't. I knew that if we get lost in the wilderness, as long as you have water, you're fine. I saw a movie where these explorers got trapped in the mountains, but they found a spring and it kept them alive. But then I remembered that when they got desperate, they had to eat the pack animals, and I just hope things didn't reach that point for us. I figured if we followed the creek, it might lead it might lead us somewhere, and at least we wouldn't get lost again. But when we came across a beaver dam, Riley started freaking out. Riley said beavers are dangerous, and that he saw a show on TV where a beaver attacked a person, Still, I couldn't convince Rowley to stay near the creek, so we had to turn around again. And by now it was really dark. After walking a few more minutes, something bright caught my eye. I thought maybe it was the headlights from a car, and we ran toward it. It turned out the light was coming from a car, but it was just a rusted out piece of junk in the middle of the woods. And what caught my eye was the reflection of the moon on the bumper. When my eyes adjusted to the light, I realized that there were a lot of abandoned cars and cars and trucks all around us. Alright. Alright, 5 pages. I was gonna say we can take a break every 5 to 10 pages for 15 seconds. Take a drink of water. I saw something shiny sitting on the stump, and I picked it up. The thing was cold and metal. When I held up to my face to take a closer look, I knew exactly what it was. It was a belt buckle, and it belongs to Mickey Mango. Me and Rowley were smack. We're smack in the middle of the Mango's camp. People in my town had always wondered where the Mangos live, and now me and Rowley had stumbled into their headquarters. I thought we were lucky because at least there was no one in there, but when we had turned to leave, something grabbed my hand. Ah! Well, technically, something grabbed Mr. Morales's. I thought for sure it was Mickey Mango, and he was gonna kill me for touching his buckle belt. Thankfully, I was wrong. The puppet was snug on the truck's door handle, so I tried to pull it free. That's when we heard noises coming from inside the truck. I realized that I had to choose between seeing myself and seeing a puppet, and it was no contest. Me and Rowley turned out of there, but when we were a good distance away from the Mingo's camp, we heard a sound that made my blood run cold. Aroo! I don't know if it was the Goat Man or the Mingo kids. All I knew for sure is that if we stopped running, we'd be dead. I could hear shouting behind us, and it was getting closer. But just when we felt like the places were right on top of us, we broke through the trees and into the open. Luckily, Dad was paying attention, or me and Rowley would have been a roadkill. Screech! But at least we would have been over quick, because because of the mangoes, because of the mangoes caught us. I think I'm sure that they would have taken their time. Friday. When I woke up this morning, I was totally exhausted. My legs felt like rubber from all the running yesterday. I barely just got any rest because I had nightmares from the mangoes. Were I had a nightmare. I had a nightmare. The mangoes were chasing me. I was gonna tell Mom I couldn't I couldn't go to school today, but when I looked out the window, I realized I didn't have to. But when I looked out the window, I realized I didn't have to. It snowed at least 5 inches overnight, which meant school was closed. So I was looking forward to a nice, relaxing day of doing absolutely nothing. Mom and Dad were already gone, and Manny was at daycare. Roderick usually sleeps past 1 o'clock. Roderick usually sleeps past 1 o'clock p.m. on snow days, so I more or less had the whole house to myself. I went downstairs to make a bowl of cereal and turn on the TV, but there was something wrong with the remote. Press. Uh-oh. I think the remote is broken. I noticed it felt a little light. So I opened up the back of the remote to see if there was a missing battery. It turns out there wasn't any batteries inside, but there was a note from Mom. To get the batteries for the remote, read the to get the sorry, this is pretty hard to read, as you can see here. As you lift it closer to the camera. To get the batteries from the remote, wash the dishes. I really didn't feel like doing it. I really didn't feel like doing the chores on a snow day. So I looked around the house for some batteries I could put in the remote. But Mom must have known I'd do that because there wasn't a spare battery anywhere. I couldn't figure out how mom was gonna know. I loaded the dishwasher since she wasn't even home. But when I put in the last plate and shut the door, I found something. It was another note with a battery taped to it. Congratulations. Congratulations. Clean the dish. Congratulations. Clean the downstairs bathroom to get your remote battery. Congratulations. Clean the downstairs bathroom to get your next battery. I didn't like where this was heading, the TV remote takes 4 batteries, and at this rate, we gotta burn through my whole day doing chores. But then I realized I didn't have to. The remote in mom and dad's bedroom is really skinny. And I was pretty sure, it took 1 battery. And I tuned in. And I tuned out. I was right. I knew I was gonna have to finish all the chores before mom and dad got home. But I figured I had plenty of time, and I deserved to enjoy myself for a little while. So I made myself comfortable on the bed and turned on the TV. Ordinarily, I get a little weirded out being in mom and dad's bed today. I decided to make an exception, especially when I realized one of the blankets was the one we got from Aunt Dorothy for Christmas. Watching TV in bed was awesome, or at least for a while. I was comfortable for the first 2 hours, but after that, my neck started hurting from lying in that position. All right, time for a break. All right, I gotta go refill this glass of water, so I'll be right back. I'm back. I got my water refilled. Let's go. I've already decided that when I get a place of my own, I'm gonna attach my TV to the ceiling so I can look straight up at it. But I'm gonna have someone install the TV who knows what they're doing, because I don't need to be in the next flat. But I don't need to be in the next flat Stanley. Crack. I must have dozed off for a while, because when the phone rang, it startled me. It was Mom, and I thought I was checking. I thought I was checking in on me. And I thought she was checking in on me to see if I finished my chores. But the reason she was calling was to tell me she couldn't make it. She couldn't make it home in time to pick up Manny at daycare, so she was gonna have Mr. Drummond drop Manny off at the house. That meant I had to babysit, which was gonna really mess up the rest of my day. When Miss Damon dropped off Manny a half hour later, I didn't know what to do with him. I put Manny in Mom and Dad's room and turn on some cartoons, but he followed me back downstairs, so I guess Manny just wanted to be with me. I tried to remember what Roderick used to do with me when I was little, but all I could think of was the time he gave me lemon juice. It told me it was soda. Then I remembered a game me and Roderick used to play. That was actually fun. We pretended the floor was lava, and we had to stay off. We had to stay off of it by using cushions and pillows from the couch. Me and Roger used to play that game for hours. I figured if I got Manny and started, he could keep himself entertained. Um, when I wrapped up my chores, uh, when I was at my chores, but when I told Manny how the game worked, he totally freaked out. Ah! Okay, the floor is on. My goodness, kids are freaking out on this book. So now Manny wouldn't go anywhere near the floor, and that made things really inconvenient for me. But I still had to do my chores. I, I'd be in trouble when Mom and Dad got home. And I had a big one in front of me, which was shoveling the driveway. I knew Manny wasn't a total. I knew Manny would have a total meltdown if I left him inside with all the lava. So I got him dressed in his snow gear, which wasn't easy. I figured Manny could play on the back deck when I shoveled the driveway, and he'd be safe because the deck is closed. The snow in the driveway was wet and heavy, and it was hard to make any progress. After a half hour, I decided to take a break and soak my hands in some warm water. While I was inside, I thought I'd check and see how Manny was doing on the back deck. But Manny was gone. He had built a little sandcastle out of snow to escape. Oh no, he had built a little staircase out of snow to escape. How do you build a staircase out of snow as a kid to try to escape? I mean, in a closed deck. How would a kid go missing on a stair deck? When you just leave them in a closed space, how do you leave them? Seriously, how do you leave them in? How do you leave? How would a child go missing if their parent or family member or babysitter puts them in a closed space and make something that they would escape? Why would parents do that to their own children? I mean, why would that happen to? I mean, the brother's not technically endangering their own sibling. Thankfully, he didn't get far, but I realized I couldn't leave him alone anymore. I took Manny to the front yard with me. It was getting late, and Dad I took Manny in the front yard with me. It was getting late, and Dad was getting really mad when the driveway is not cleared when he comes home from work. So I shoveled as fast as I could, and Manny pitched in to help. But there was just too much snow and not enough time. I was ready to give up when some girls from a different neighborhood walked by and offered to clear our driveway for $10. These kids looked young, and I didn't see how they could do any better than me and Manny, but we could use all the help we could get. So I was willing to give them a chance. I had $5 in the drawer next to my bed, and I got the other $5 from the big drawer of the challenge Matty has in his room. But what I didn't realize was when I agreed to deal with those girls was that they had a snowblower. So they were done clearing the whole driveway inside of 5 minutes. I felt like I was getting ripped off, so I told them I'd pay $3 instead of 10. But I guess this wasn't the first time someone tried to stiff them on payment. They moved all the snow back into the driveway and added the snow from the lawn just to make a point. By the time my parents got home, things went worse off than when I started. After dinner, Mom and Dad lectured me until after 8 o'clock for not finishing my chores. And that's when Roderick got out of bed to start his day. As we stop at Saturday, we're going to take a quick break. Saturday. I usually sleep in the weekends, but this morning, Mom had other plans for me. She said I was going to spend the whole day outside. I told her I'd go out in the snow after I played some video games, but she reminded me about screen-free weekends. And I knew she wasn't gonna budge. When I was younger, I could spend hours playing in the snow. But nowadays, after about 10 minutes, I was ready to come inside. Grown-ups act like being in the snow is the most fun you can ever have. But you never see them out there rolling around in it. I can only remember one time Dad played with the son in the snow, but that ended second round trip dumped snow down the back of Dad's neck. Alright, so I'm gonna stop there for today. This is gonna be to be continued because I'm going out with a friend. I'm gonna go hang out with a friend. We are planning to ride to check out a local new light rail station, the same one that we did in March. So, yeah. See you to be continued. I'm gonna finish the book. I'm halfway through for this episode, so I'm pausing for the day. See you in the next half reading. See you in the next half. Alright, everyone, I'm back. Now we're here to finish the book. And we left off on page 150. We're going to read 30 more pages. Saturday. I usually sleep in on the weekends. This morning, Mom had other plans for me. She said I was gonna spend the whole day outside. I told her I'd go out in the snow after I played some video games, but she reminded me about screen-free weekends. I didn't know that she wasn't gonna budge. When I was younger, I could spend hours playing in the snow. But nowadays, after about 10 minutes, I'm ready to come inside. Grown-ups act like being in the snow and the next. Grown-ups act like being in snow. Being in snow is the most fun you can ever have. But you never see them out on the rolling. You never see them out there rolling around in it. I can only remember one time Dad played with us out in the snow, but that ended the second Roderick dumped snow down the back of Dad's neck. Mom's always making us kids go outside because she says we need our vitamin D, which you get from the sun. I told Mom I get plenty of vitamin D from the sun in my video games, but that kind of reasoning never works on her. When I went outside today, Manny was already in the front yard, making snowmen, or whatever you'd call those things. We never finished raking the leaves in the fall, so Manny used the leaves we didn't pick up to decorate his snow friends. Many had used up most of the snow in the yard, so there wasn't a whole lot I could ever do outside. I decided to head up to Rowley's, which meant I had to pass by Fregley's house. And sure enough, he was out in his front yard. The reason I went to Rowley's house was because his family just got heated floors. So on cold days, I try to spend as much time at his house as possible. But Mom must have known I was gonna go to Rowley's because she called his parents, and he was outside when I got there. As long as both of us had to be outdoors, I figured we should make the most of it. Since I'd already done all the hard work of getting up the hill, I told Rowley we should get in a little sledding. The plow usually comes through by late morning, so we can only get in a few good runs before the street is cleared. But the regular plow guy was on vacation, and the kids at the top of the hill told the substitute driver that Surrey Street was 2 miles down the road, so that brought us some extra time. I don't actually think it's a good idea to mess around with substitutes because it always comes back to bite, but because it always comes back to bite you. Last year, we had a long term sub in algebra. And his first day, and on his first day, me and my classmates all switched seats with each other because we knew the sub would be relying on the seating charts. Robert, did you finish your homework? Yep. Ha 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 ha. I gotta say, it was pretty hilarious having him call us by the wrong names every day. When the kids pretended to be me, when the kid pretending to be me started acting like a total jerk, it wasn't so funny anymore. And when our real teacher got back, the sub gave her a write up on the fake Greg Heffley, which landed me in detention for 2 weeks. What the heck? Rally only has one sled, but there's just enough room on it for 2 people. We squeezed on board and pointed it downhill. But with all that weight, we couldn't really get up. We couldn't really get up any momentum. We can get close. We can get close to the bottom of the hill. We used to a dead stop. But that was probably a good thing because the kids who made it all the way down got nailed by the Lower Surrey Street kids. And they're crossed into their territory. Things could have gotten a lot uglier because then the substitute snowplow driver figured out where Surrey Street was, and that was the end of that. Rumble. I decided we had been outside long enough, and we tried to go inside. But Mom had locked the door, and I could tell she wasn't messing around. Knock, knock, knock. Since we couldn't sled anymore, we needed to figure out something else to do. So me and Rowley went to the empty lot a few doors up from my house to decide what to do next. I figured as long as we had to be outside, we might as well stay warm at school. We watched a movie about people in the Arctic who built igloos to survive in the cold weather. And I thought maybe we could give it a try. We made some snow bricks and stacked them the way the people in the movies did. It was hard at first, but then we started getting the hang of it. The main thing was getting the shape of the dome just got right, so it didn't collapse. All right, page 160. Quick break. I just gotta take a sip of my water. All right, back to the book. We were really careful, and everything held together. When we put in the last brick at the top, we realized we forgot to build a door. Rally started hyperventilating, and I knew if I didn't do something, he was gonna suck up all the oxygen in there. So I busted through the top and took a big gulp of fresh air. Gasp. Some neighborhood kids have been watching us. Belaregus. With my head sticking up, I must have looked like an easy target. After the idiots ran out of snowballs, they climbed up on top of the igloos. But it wasn't meant to support any extra weight. And within a few seconds, the whole thing. If those didn't run out of snowballs, they climbed up on top of the igloos. But it wasn't meant to support any extra weight. And within a few seconds, the whole thing came crashing down. "No!" said the kids. "My igloo!" Me and Riley were lucky to crawl out of there alive. Once we pulled ourselves out of our ruined igloo, I decided that we've had enough fun for one day. So we went back to the house, and this time, Mom let us in. I told Mom what happened at the empty lot, and how she needed to go out there and yell at those stupid kids for us. But Mom said that learning to deal with conflict is part of growing up, and that me and Riley were gonna have to deal with this on our own. I didn't like the sound of that. I thought the whole point of having parents is that you've got someone to solve your problem for you. Dad was listening from the other room, and he had a totally different take. He said that the neighborhood kids had just declared a war on me and Rowley. If we didn't fight back, they'd think it was okay to attack us whenever they wanted. Dad said when he was growing up, his neighborhood turned into a battlefield. Every time it snowed, kids built giant snow forts and had epic snowball fights, and everyone was part of a different clan. Dad said each clan had its own flag, and when you captured somebody else's fort, you planted a flag to make your territory. Riley thought we should. Riley thought we should form a clan, and he really liked the flag idea. I thought it seemed kind of dumb, but as long as making a flag gave us an excuse to be indoors for a while, it was all for it. We found an old pillowcase in the laundry room and got some markers out of the junk drawer in the kitchen. We started by trying to come up with a name for our clan. Riley said he wanted us to be Hufflepuff. But I said that we were gonna do this. We're gonna do this. I wanted our name to be something original. We argued back and forth for a while. About our name. And I realized we weren't gonna agree on on one. So we talked about how our flag should look. Rowley wanted our symbols to be a wolf. Right. Rowley wanted our symbols to be a wolf. But I wanted something even fiercer than that. So we scared the kids off. I thought a bloody battle axe would do the track. Would do the trick. Sorry, I meant to do read trick, not track. But of course, Rowley didn't like the idea. Like that idea, I meant so we can compromise and put the two things together. But when you add an axe and a wolf, you just get a dead wolf, which isn't gonna scare anyone. We were going to start over and make a new flag. But when I got another pillowcase, Mom told us we needed to go back outside. So we get in our snow gear, and it was the empty lot. The kids who wrecked our igloo had moved on to other things. So me and Riley had the empty lot all to ourselves. We used the snow from the igloo as a starting point and made a fort that could build up to an attack. After we were finished, we placed our flags on top of the wall and waited. I figured our fort might attract some attention, but if I didn't realize, But I didn't realize just how much. Within a few minutes, we had kids coming at us from every direction. We were completely outgunned, and when the kids rushed our fort, we had to abandon it. When we got back to 1 second. This on silent. When we got back to the house, we told Dad what happened. But after we described our fort to him, he said we did all. He said we did everything all wrong. He said we needed to build our fort on high grounds so he could drive back our enemies. Then Dad launched into a big history lesson on castle warfare and all the things that people did to defend themselves back in medieval times. Sorry, that's like the dump truck out there. The stuff they did in the old days were totally brutal. And I just had one example. When the invaders tried to climb the walls of the castle, the people inside it would pour boiling oil on them. I hope it doesn't get to the level in our neighborhood battles. But tonight, I added on the items in the grocery store list, just in case it does. All right, I feel like I've read 10 pages. I just gotta take a sip. All right, all good. Now back to the book. New chapter. Sunday. It must have snowed another 7 inches last night, and the streets were totally covered. When I woke up, I couldn't even see the line between our yard and the road. I was kind of surprised the plow hadn't come yet, because when there's this much snow, people can't even get their cars out of the driveways. But when Dad came back from his morning walk, I found out what was going on. When the plow tried to get up the hill, it got stuck, and when the snowplow driver got ambushed by the neighborhood kids, he ran off and left the truck sitting in the street. Oh dang! That meant we could sled all day if we wanted to. But sledding is for kids. Sledding can be for anybody, not just for kids. Come on. And I had other plans in mind. I've been up all night looking through Dad's books to learn everything I could about castle warfare and battle strategies. And by the morning, I was ready. I wanted to get started making a fort with Rowley right away. But I knew the second we put up walls, we were going to be under attack. The only way we could fight back was if we had an ammunition. I figured buy a big supply of pre-made snowballs from Mitchell Packet. So we went down to his shed, which we opened for business, which was open for business. But I guess things must have gone well for Mitchell last winter, because this year he expanded his operations. Snowball molds, icy isols, snowball launchers, sloppy special. Let me know what this second one is. It's spelled ICILES. I borrowed enough money from Manny's change just to pay for 3 dozen snowballs. But now that I saw all the other stuff, I had to make some tough choices. The sloppy specials looked like regular snowballs to me. So I asked Mitchell why they were 5 times more expensive. He said that each one was a regular snowball with a slash on the inside, and don't even ask me how much he pulled that off. We ended up buying 2 dozen pre-made snowballs and one snowball launcher was which I figured we could use. I could use if we needed to nail somebody from long distance. But I wish I brought the whole jar of change, because Mitchell was selling a snow catapult that looked like it could really do some damage. I have to get that another time though. We looked up my sled and we looked up my sled with our purchase and went back to the empty lot. But when we got closer, we were shocked by what we saw. There were a bunch of snow forts in the empty lot now, and then the kids were inside each one. The kids copied our idea right down to the flags. The Marley sisters had a spare on their flags, and Evelyn Trimble had a bat on hers. The Garza twins took a two-headed ogre, which actually is spelled OGRE, which actually looks pretty cool. There were some really lame flags too. Marcus and Marcus and Mark and Marcons. Dad owned the sub shop in the center of town that went out of business, and Marcus used the flag that used to hang in front of the restaurant. I wanted to get closer to see who else made the fort, but when we got near the empty lot, Ernesto, Gabriel, and a bunch of other kids opened fire on us. Whoa! That was totally overcrowded, and I knew that there was no way we could build a snow fort there. It's there now. So our only chance was to take over someone else's. I got some old binoculars from my garage, so we could escape things, so we could scope things out without having to get too close. Things have gotten a lot crazier in the 5 minutes we were gone. Though Gabriel and Ernesto were in a battle with the Marley sisters, and a bunch of homeschool kids were battling with the Garza twins. All right, 5 more pages left, and we've officially completed this book. Now 4 more pages. Amelia Greenwald and Evelyn Trimble had teamed up to the fight. Ansley Denard and Sheldon Reyes and Speed Bump, and Latricia Hooks were straight up going at it with their fists. But I wasn't focused on all that. I was searching for a fort that looked vulnerable, and I found one. The duplex kids had built a pretty solid looking fort, but as usual, it looks like they weren't getting along. I figured they'd wear themselves out fighting, and when they did, me and Riley could pounce. So we moved a little closer. So we moved in a little closer and waited for the right moment. That's when I noticed a fort that didn't have anyone in it. The fort was sitting all alone on the top of the big round of snow. I remembered what Dad said about the high ground, and this fort was in the perfect spot. I couldn't figure out why someone would build a fort and abandon it, but what I knew was that this was on our big chance. So we snuck around it and climbed over the back wall. It turned out that this fort wasn't empty though. It belongs to Baby Gibson, who was inside with a stockpile of snowballs. But the second we stepped in the fort, it was under attack. So the homeschool kids must have known about the high ground thing too, and now they wanted the fort for themselves. But when they when they but when they came charging up the church up the mound, we drove them back, and even Baby Gibson got on the act. Then then kids started using, and then kids started coming for us in every direction, and it was getting harder and harder to defend the fort. The Dupless kids split into two groups, and they came at us from the left and the right, while Ernesto and Gato were started using the snowball throwers to snipe at us from their fort. All right, final page. And while we were trying to deal with all that, some little kid from Mr. Jimenez's playgroup tunneled up through the bottom of our fort and totally took us off guard. The next thing we knew, one fort was totally infested with preschoolers, and to cap it all off, the Morrow sisters did a sneak attack from the rear, which was terrifying because those girls go for the eyes. Scream! Oh! And this ends season 2, everybody. We're officially done with Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Meltdown, and the entirety of season 2 of the Epic Stories. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the entirety of this season. And make sure to hit like and subscribe. And thank you so much for liking all my previous Diary of a Wimpy Kid videos. If you do not watch YouTube, this podcast is called The Epic Stories, and it'll be in all my Diary of a Wimpy Kid episodes that I did earlier this month. And last month. So, folks, you really seem to enjoy this Diary of a Wimpy Kid series. I noticed that on my YouTube channel. So, this completes the last full episode of season 2. The next one will just be an ending. The next one will just be a short episode. And the next one will just be a short episode. And I'm gonna think about some ideas, and I'm gonna let you know when I'm ready. So, peace out, everyone. Good luck. Good luck with your excitement on season 3. Thank you.